Ventura. Scott, what the ever-loving hell does that mean? Is Yolanda in deep need of a pet detective? What kind of a pet does Yolanda have? Is Yolanda pet deprived? Are you pet deprived? Joe Yagsko of Freeland, Pennsylvania, wrote the comment about program number 15 and noted that he didn't need a QSL. We, however, always ignore such pleas and almost always send something. On that note, let me say that with two exceptions, we always send something to everyone who writes to us. If you haven't received anything for a report or letter, look for a disgruntled postal worker somewhere in your area and shoot him. Joe also sent a list of hillbilly medical terms for laymen. For example, benign is what you be after 8. Cesarean section is a district in Rome. A hangnail is a place to put your coat. Urine means belonging to you. Great stuff, Joe. Thanks, mucho. Greg, Happy Station Myers of Virginia Beach, Virginia, also just dropped us a note about program number 15, but we stuffed his mailbox, too. Mess around with Radio Azteca and you'll get stuck. Greg is one of the original members of the Brady family, but preferred to keep a low key about that after all those nasty rumors about him and Marcia. Mike Prindle of Suffolk, New York, says that he heard about us ever since he started pirate DXing. Same here, Mike. And we've had a hell of a time hearing us. Seems like we're never around when we're on. Mike, we hope that everything you heard was gross but tasteful. Dave Stoddard of Jacksonville, Florida, says that he finally caught us with a fantastic signal. Dave seems to have gotten a special charge out of our best morning song. Dave, here's another one just for you. Mary had a little Sony. Her knobs were small and tight. And everywhere that Mary went, the boys said, out of sight. She took the Sony to school one day to do what every kiddo. She took it out at recess for the boys her knobs to twiddle. The principal went out to see what was going on and stepped into the middle. When he spied the boys and Mary's knobs, he couldn't help but piddle. The moral of this story is, don't twiddle with yourself. Only take your books to school, leave your Sony on the shelf. Frank Peterson of Bloomfield, New York, says that our signal was substantially stronger than those of our counterparts. Trust me, Frank, I've got counterparts that if I unleashed over Radio Azteca, the ionosphere would never be the same. I can make a crude statement here about antenna erections, but I won't. Are parts and counterparts like matter and antimatter? If a part touches a counterpart, will you get into trouble if there isn't consent? Where's Dr. Radio when you need him? David Chapchuck of the North from Scranton, Pennsylvania, sent the top 5 reasons why he listens to Radio Azteca. Here we go. Number 5, Bram Stoker's voice is slightly more pleasant than the numbers lady that pops up on 6955 from time to time. Number 4, helps me plan my evening meal. That Marconi and cheese really sticks to your ribs. Number 3, gives me a chance to harass George Zeller with another pirate logging. Number 2, Bram Stoker uses fancy Spanish words, just like Glenn Hauser, which makes me feel like a sophisticated international type of guy. And the number 1 reason why David likes to listen to Radio Azteca, it helps me break that gross but tasteful habit of polishing my Johnson.
Holy shit, that is funny.
Charles Crawford of Henderson, Kentucky checks in again. And again, Charles points out that he teaches pre-calculus. I still can't figure out who'd want to sit through a whole course on how to build up thick places on your skin. I studied a lot of math, Chuck, and I've always been partial to divergent infinite series, circular integrals, discontinuous functions, and how come digital displays revert to 1200 when the power comes back on. Charles, have you noticed that if you add the digits in 7415 and 6955, divide each by 4, you get an even number with a remainder of 1? Bram's first theorem of pirate numerology.
Well, this is typical of the babbling of a PhD.
Jeff Richardson writes for the first time from one of every medium-wave DXer targets, Dover, Delaware. Jeff wants to know if we're going to change frequencies this winter. No, Jeff, we're going to do this just about as often as we ever have. Well, by golly, Bram's bag is empty again, and I'm just plain exhausted. Don't forget, when you write to us, send 3 mint stamps, 3 wise-ass comments we can use on the air, and a picture of your dog humping your good-looking neighbor's leg. Wrap it all up in a plain brown wrapper and send it to DVS Communications, Post Office Box 452, Wellsville, New York, 14895. This is Radio Azteca, more fun to listen to than a ham contest. Emiliano Zamboni ever since he made that major faux pas during one of our Herzegovinian broadcasts. But he's back again, and here is Emiliano with a Radio Azteca editorial comment. The term QSL whore seems to have popped up in the DX community lately. Frankly, I'm not sure what a QSL whore is or what the motives of the perpetrators are. Possibly it's derived from the long-time, widely held but false premise that QSLs can be redeemed for cash and valuable prizes. Even that makes no sense because I have never run into a whore that took coupons. Do the perpetrators think that the station personnel who read their reception reports experience orgasmic pleasure because of it? I think not. Even Glenn Hauser once said that he thought it was silly to expect your wife or girlfriend to QSL verifying reception of good sex. I think that the perpetrators are just frustrated because they never received their Voice of the Night QSL and have decided to cast a pall over this time-honored, self-satisfying aspect of the hobby and they recognize as being critical to national security. If we don't stamp out this evil influence soon, we'll all be receiving our QSLs in a latex envelope and getting hassled by the QSL cops. Wake up, America! Radio Azteca, your station for everything we can find that's gross but tasteful. From these guys in quite a long time, so for your zoological edification, here are...
Let's sure greasy little things up next to the radio because it's time for America's favorite radio program, Animal Stories. And now here in person is the Animal Stories news team anchorman. Tommy. Hi, Tommy. Good morning, Uncle Lair. Good morning. Hi, everybody.
Here's a love story concerning some giraffes at the zoo in Portland, Oregon. They had a big stud giraffe named Jigsaw and a female giraffe named Puzzle.
Oh, Jigsaw and Puzzle.
Yeah, they were lovers. But then Jigsaw, he died back in '75, and Puzzle been without male companionship for the last 7 years, so you can imagine how up for it she was. So finally today came, little Tommy. They imported a stud giraffe from Dallas, Texas.
What was his name?
I like this name for a giraffe. His name was Giraffe.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Puzzle, she was all excited about it. They ran him into her pen. He snorted, pawed the ground, and then promptly knelt down and tried to nurse. from her. The problem they have there with Stretch, he doesn't seem to get the drift of just exactly what his function is supposed to be. Actually,
Kind of a mama's boy, huh?
yeah. Oh, I think you're going to be excited about this gift we got in the mail, little Tommy.
Oh, good.
He writes, Dear Uncle Larry and little Tommy, having been inspired by your animal product story concerning that poor guy at the disco in Chemung, remember that?
Oh, with the tight pants?
As I have purchased for you your very own official Animal Stories disco kit.
Oh, good.
See what he said is here, little Tommy. Big, hefty hickory smoked sausage here from Rat Blackhawk.
Yeah.
Now, Tommy, I'm going to show you how this official disco kit works. Now, first, I'm going to hypnotize you, okay? Close your eyes.
Okay.
I'm going to hypnotize you just like I did that chicken in our movie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you close your eyes now. Okay, you're slowly sinking deeper and deeper into a real deep sleep.
Yeah.
Are you there yet? Okay, I want you to imagine that you're undergoing a sex change operation now, and you're no longer a little Tommy. You're some cheap, bleached blonde floozy in a disco. Okay.
Oh, yeah, okay.
You're really sleazy. Okay. Now, you stand by. Now, don't open your eyes until I tell you. I'm going to install the disco kit here so you can get an idea of how this works. Okay, now, don't open your eyes till I tell you. Now, you imagine you're this cheap blonde floozy in the disco, and you see... Okay, I'm standing next to John Travolta. Okay?
Yeah?
And you walk in, you see me and John Travolta there. Now, admittedly, John Travolta is better looking than I am, but now that I have my disco kit installed, I want you to check this out.
Yeah, what now?
Yeah, and tell us which one you go for. I mean, you're going to be hitting on me all night, right?
Oh, my gosh.
This commands respect, doesn't it? We'll keep it here at the office in case you ever want to use it for an evening at the disco. Thank you, Mark. It's the most useful gift you've ever received.
Yeah.
Your Uncle Larry and little Tommy. I thought you might be interested in my recent unfortunate encounter with a horse. I am unable to forget the incident, as I still have remnants of it in the grill work and wind deflector of my car. It all began one day as I was driving down I-55 on my way to a golf outing. I was in the right turn exit ramp going about 45 miles an hour, and directly behind the truck that was pulling a trailer containing a horse. The horse's rear end was positioned about 8 feet off the ground and about 2 feet in front of my car when the animal began unleashing several pounds of soft, watery road apple. I was trapped since another car was directly behind me. And this tremendous barrage began slamming into the windshield of my car because the onslaught was so strong that I had to use my windshield wipers to see in front of us. My sunroof was open at the time, but fortunately, the sunroof's wind deflector sent the bombardment over the roof of my car.
Oh, good.
Unfortunately, however, The deflected barrage was sent hurling at 45 miles an hour, a car directly behind me. As I watched, horrified, through my rearview mirror, I saw the driver behind me, a friend who was following me to the golf course, feverishly try to roll up the window to avoid the deflected barrage.
Oh, wow.
Guess what? He didn't make it. His left arm is covered from 2 salvos of this stuff. 3 weeks later, I am still unable to remove all the residue of this incident, even after several car washes. Although this story is not directly from the horse's mouth, but rather from the other end, it is nevertheless true.
Coming to you from somewhere south of Blue Ridge Summit, north of Merlin, west of Faribault, and east of Wellsville, this is Radio Azteca, the home of Bram Stoker.
Guitar swing. There's been a raging war between DXers and SWLs ever since Bob Grove twiddled his first knob. Might even have been Mary's knobs on her sewing. Some folks claim to dabble in both, but there are a few subtle signs that you can look for to help you decide which you are. For example, if you knew where the Falkland Islands were before the war, you might be a DXer. If you have more than 3 radios that work, you might be a DXer. If you have a radio with numbers between 1.6 and 88, you might be a DXer. If you've ever spoken the words, "No, I only listen," you might be a DXer. If your passport won't get you into a foreign country, you might be a DXer. If you know what the term listening window means, you might be a DXer. If you've ever interrupted sex to check on the Africans, you might be a DXer. If, when someone mentions pirates, you don't immediately think of Pittsburgh or old Errol Flynn movies, you might be a DXer. If you think that sunrise enhancement does not refer to a male anatomical phenomena, you might just be a DXer. This is the real Radio Azteca, where we give you Montezuma's revenge. Sweaty palm from the home office in Williamson, Michigan, tonight's Top 10 list. Here are the top 10 signs that Bob Grove is nuts. Here we go. Number 10, started organizing a convention for DXers. Number 9, bought advertising time on Radio Tirana. Number 8, tried to get Dr. Gene Scott to badmouth Universal Radio. Number 7, orders all his personal stuff from Radio Shack. Number 6, believes that Canon Shanmugam is a real person. Number 5, thought that we'd pay extra for a plastic cover. Number 4, turned down an offer to merge with Mrs. Fields Cookies. Number 3, would rather DX than slap and tickle. Number 2, thought that Hauser's 900 number was a great idea. And the number 1 sign that South Grove is nuts thinks that radio spam is a new hobby snack food. And we want to know when we're going to get a shot at Radio Spam QSL number 2. Feature for your entertainment and edification. Tonight I have the pleasure of interviewing one of the more interesting characters in the DX community. He's immediately recognizable by anyone who's ever attended a DX convention. Welcome to the Radio Azteca Studios, Scarfman.
Hey, baby, what's happening?
Scarfman, I'm going to lead off with a question that a lot of people want to know. What is your real name? Interesting, but you don't look Australian. But since we're on a roll now, another question that's on everyone's mind. Why are you always writing down the serial numbers of radios?
Because I am a wild and crazy girl!
Yes, we can all tell that by the way you dress. But what do you plan to do with all those serial numbers?
I want all privately owned radios to be immediately impounded.
I suppose, then, you'll be the only one to be able to catch DX. You're a hard man, Scarfman, but a neat dresser. I think that scarf is really neat, and I'm going to get one to wear to the next cult bill.
You're a smart ass, aren't you?
Well, yes, but there are some circles that recognize that as a talent in me. But Scarfman, don't you think that your behavior and manner are just a little bit weird?
I don't really have a problem. It's just that my friends think I do.
I don't see a good perversion of bad man.
Speaking of friends, I understand that you have a very special, famous friend in the DX community. Can you tell us who that is?
That person is none other than Glenn Hauser.
Glenn Hauser, huh? What do you suppose that attracted Glenn to you in the first place?
Probably because he's possessed by the devil.
Well, many of us have suspected that for a long time. Besides looking for radio serial numbers, why do you attend all the DX conventions?
I need to go where the big ones are biting.
That's disgusting, Scarfman. Do you have any more surprises in for us at the next DX convention?
Excuse me while I whip this out.
No, man. Jesus, for God's sake, that really is disgusting.
You look like the kind who would scare anything.
Yes, there are some things that even Bram Stoker finds just too disgusting to contemplate. Speaking of which, are you married, Scarfman?
I love it. One woman, 49 years. My wife finds out she'd kill me.
How about children?
They're in the Catholic Church for not letting me wear one of those little rubber things.
I'll take that as a yes. Mind-boggling concept that it is. Well, it seems we've just about run out of time, and not a minute too soon, I might add. Do you have any last words of wisdom for us, Scarf Man?
But if they let me wear one of those little rubber things on the end of my cock, we won't be in the mess we are now.
I couldn't agree more. Let's have a big hand for Scarf Man. Step of the Great Pyramid of Teotihuacan, this is Radio Azteca. Installment of actual stuff. All of the following items are taken off the air or from various media. We are not making these up. From the fall '95 issue of the magazine Freebies is the following article. Are you rich? Do you prefer to be called Dick? The Dicks of America is an organization dedicated to making Dick the most beloved name in America. As any dick knows, their name has been turned into a four-letter word and made fun of over the years. But this group proudly accepts and even promotes the use of the name. If you or someone you know is a Richard, send for these free golf tees and ball markers ID'd for Dick, and a catalog filled with more merchandise for Dick. Send along self-addressed stamped envelope. Ask for Dicks of America golf tees and catalog. Limit one per household. Now, here is an area that is definitely ripe for exploitation by Radio Azteca. Can women join Dicks of America? Why only one dick per household? Can you join if your name is not Dick, but you've been called one? I want one of those ball markers ID'd for Dick.
Yes, it's true. This man has no dick. Hey, Pencil Dick, what time is it?
Well, because you look like a dick. From USA Today comes these items. This item concerns Christine Reed of Wilton, Wisconsin. She's developed a current affair, literally. The 37-year-old Milton resident gets and gives shocks regularly. Appliances act oddly whenever she's around. Her home has been struck by lightning 5 times. Now, there's a woman I'd like to meet. I've always enjoyed an intimate relationship with a woman who's in a few amps, for sure. Gives new meaning to the use of the term turned on. Tanya Case of Bangor, Maine, is on trial for starving her daughter. She told police that she thought her daughter was evil, so she turned up the radio so neighbors wouldn't hear her scream. Tanya probably voted successfully in the last presidential election. And last, this sad bit of news, the last remaining drive-in movie in Albuquerque is being torn down. When did we lose control, folks? A lot of us got our education at the drive-in. We got to stand up and fight to say what's good and right. Wake up, America! This is Radio Azteca, one of America's most national products. Pittsburgh, yes, Al. Who was the clever girl, and what did she do? If your car is going at the speed of light and you turn your lights on, what happens? Why do they put braille keys on the drive-up ATM? If you tie a piece of buttered toast onto the back of a cat dropping from a height, what happens? What's the difference between a genealogist and a gynecologist? Dr. Radio won't answer these insightful questions, but he'll answer yours.
He knows more than you do.
Neil Wolfish asked, did Glenn Hauser's parents dropping on his head as a baby, did Glenn have parents, or was he cloned from an X-Files experiment? Great libelous question there, Neil. As a baby, Glenn was used as a beverage antenna weight. The end Glenn was on was draped over a utility pole. A crow ate through the wire, causing Glenn to fall and get electrocuted when the antenna touched the hotline. Glenn has been hearing only harmonics ever since. Alicia Brannigan of Red Lodge, Montana, wants to know what all those number stations are all about. Alicia, we've addressed this subject a couple of times before. During the Gulf War, many thought that they were Iraqi target data for missiles. Some stick to the drug dealer theory. Personally, I think that their Cuban baseball scores are the measurements of Cuban women. However, last night I ran across a new number station that has me completely baffled. Perhaps you could offer a theory. Here's a short excerpt of what I heard.
0630 ATM 9560. 73042, 3644 from 7260. 945 and 4960. To J730 in Ohio and 1820 at night.
That is about the strangest thing that I have ever heard on the air. For those of you who may have been wondering all this time, the difference between a genealogist and a gynecologist is that a genealogist looks up your family tree and a gynecologist looks up your family bush.
Hi, this is Jack Morgan from WLIS. We love interval signals. And when I'm not spinning the interval signals or looking for Ian, I like to listen to Radio Azteca because Bram Stoker's a cool guy.
In your Pirate US album and don't have a computer to fake one, send your reception report with 3 mint stamps and the addresses of 3 good-looking women to DVS Communications, Post Office Box 452, Wellsville, New York, 14895. Remember, if the women don't find you handsome, they ought to find you handy. Keep your stick on the ice. If more people were home DXing every night, there'd be a lot less trouble in this world. This has been Radio Azteca, program number 16. nuevo, muchachos y amigos a Radio Azteca, programa número 17. Holy Rosarita, folks, it's Radio Azteca program number 17. This is your announcer, Bram Stoker, with more silly shit from the land of the folks who invented human sacrifice. Today's program is brought to you by the good folks at the Brazilian Union of Telephone Communications, Radio, and Code Keys, Butt Crack. If you've had the misfortune to stumble across this tripwire of enlightenment and would like a commemoration, send your excruciatingly detailed reception report. 3 mint stamps, 3 wise-ass comments we can use on the air, and your favorite picture of Barb Osterman to DBS Communications, Post Office Box 452, Wellville, New York, 14895. Once again, we want to thank all the folks who took the chances to bring you this intellectually stimulating, cleverly depraved enlightenment. Special thanks to the owners, operators, and janitorial services of the North American Pirate Relay Service and to Radio Free Speech. We're in the yellow pages under Dead Indian. Your old buddy Bram is again suffering from bad buildup, so we'd better empty it before something ugly happens. Tech Sergeant Vincent Parilko of Tampa, Florida, writes for the first time. Vince says that his antenna is indoors, but it's on a top-floor apartment with thin walls. Those thin walls must come in handy whenever the next-door neighbors are entertaining each other. Is Tampa named after a female appliance? John Merrill of North Skidget, Rhode Island, writes again and says that it was great to finally hear us again. Just in time, if you haven't had your radio on enough, you would have heard us plenty of times. North Skidget is famous for being less than 100 miles from the site where Senator Kennedy saw his vision on the Chappaquiddick Bridge. Mary Jo, Mama DX Ondrichen of Canton, Massachusetts, wrote twice. Mary Jo pointed out our request for submitting glow-in-the-dark condoms with reception reports and wanted to know if us guys have trouble finding things in the dark. No, Mary Jo, it's not that we need to find things in the dark. We know where the critical things are. The glow-in-the-dark condoms are there for display purposes only. Perhaps we should pass this question on to Dr. Radio for some additional gross but tasteful explanation.
But if they let me wear one of those little rubber things under my cock, we won't be in the mess we are now.
Larry Thompson of Des Moines, Iowa writes, our first listener from Iowa. Larry says that he feels very lucky to have heard us at all. Larry, we here at Radio Azteca feel very happy that you got lucky. Perhaps if you ordered a gross of those glow-in-the-dark condoms, you'd get lucky more often.
You could ask yourself a question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
Victor Jenks of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, says that he is very happy that he caught us at it. Damn, I thought I'd pulled all the curtains. Henry Vanderhyde of Owen Sound, Ontario, reports for the second time and says that he always enjoys us and wants to know where He-Man Radio is these days. Well, ever since Kristen K faded from the DX Illuminati, He-Man has been in a deep funk, but has recently revived. A highly placed and reliable source tells me that He-Man is out in the North Woods chasing fever. Henry says, how about some fever screams? Refers, no doubt, to that famous Aztec hot-lipped rocker Emiliano Hendricks, who died of a drug interaction between decaffeinated coffee and classic Coke. Joe Yatsko of Freeland, Pennsylvania, reports for the fourth time. Joe obviously grasped the significance of one of our fuckers, Dwayne Eddy's version of Dixie, and set us a Confederate $5 bill. Brown Bank went right into old Bram's stash. Now we've almost got enough to dry clean the old stars and bars. Hope you enjoyed your special card.
This is Jack Bargan, reminding you to keep your dial tuned to Radio Azteca, your station for all that's gross but tasteful.
Hey there, DXers. There's a new book on the market that you need to get a leg up on all those hotshot DXers you're always reading about. It's the Psychic Friends Guide to World Band Radio. The PFGTWBR lists all shortwave station schedules a year in advance. And there's even a pirate section. Be the first to report new stations, Radio Quebec International and Radio Pennsylvania. Check out the Future Receiver section. Find out why you shouldn't buy the ICOM R73 and what embarrassed Japan Radio about the NRB 545. The Psychic Friends Guide to World Band Radio will be sold in all the finest Shell stations and Southern Dollar stores. If you'd like us to reserve a copy for you, send a check or money order for $39.95. Do not send cash. You know the address. Great moments in Aztec history. On July 73rd, 942 A.D., it was a Tuesday, Emiliano Oaxaca was poking around with a long pointed stick in the ground for his jalapeno chili garden. He happened to hit a round rock with a hole in it large enough for the stick. Emiliano shook the stick with mucho gusto, but the rock would not come off. Nearby was a large hollow redwood log. Emiliano lived in the northern part of Aztec land. Emiliano beat the stick repeatedly against the log to dislodge the rock, but it would not budge. Other peasants in the village came running toward the sound, fearing that it meant another attack by the dreaded mariachis. When they saw that it was only crazy Emiliano beating his stick in public again, they threw grit on him and returned to their hovels. Emiliano gave one more mighty heave. The rock came off the stick, and the stick flew out of his hands. The stick hurtled through the air, flew into the chief's hut, and impaled him, and the rock killed the chief's favorite dog. After that, Emiliano was known throughout the land as the Stone Impaler, and went on to write different stories about gross but tasteful things, and made a bundle on lucrative movie contracts and speaking engagements. Radio Azteca, more fun to listen to than watching a bug zapper on a hot night. Hey there, DXers, you'll want to write this one down on your calendars. Be sure to tune in to the Pee Wee Herman Palm Sunday Special.
Top Secret Part 2.
We did not have one of our regular features here at Radio Azteca, so for your DXing pleasure, we now bring you the DX Merry-Go-Round Party Line Media Wave Signals number 152,317. Here we bring you all the latest bizarre news and hot tips from the best DX community. The U.S. Department of Figuring Out Why Things Are has finally issued its long-awaited report on DXing. After 4,000 pages of obfuscations, sunrise, sunset charts, and old radio Moscow schedules, let me read you the conclusion on the last page. Quote, DXing has absolutely no value whatsoever, and all of its practitioners are weird, unquote. Hell, any of us could told them that, and only for a nominal charge. In a semi-related and oddly rebuttable story, the Pons Institute at Hickey, Arkansas, has issued a report indicating that DXing is good for the complexion. The report says that DXing, an otherwise totally useless exercise, causes the skin to relax, resulting in fewer wrinkles. Elizabeth Arden, spokesperson for the Institute, says to look for a new ad campaign soon touting Pons' new ingredient, DX. So there you have it, all you old shriveled-up radio enthusiasts. Grease up and go on a de-expedition. The ASWLC finally folded recently amid rumors of an IRS audit and a MasterCard fraud investigation. Stu, I'm in charge here, Mackenzie, deferred all questions to his accountant, Billy Saul Escrow. The ATF inventory of current assets listed: one long-reach stapler, 47 reams of yellow paper, a stolen postage meter, a pair of night vision goggles, 2 bullwhips, and a case of Cheese Whiz. When asked what the long-reach stapler was for, Stu replied, to keep the publishing committee in line. Hey gang, it's time again for the North American Full Contact DX Championships. Between midnight UTC January the 13th and 3 a.m. ELT January the 14th, see how many DXers you can touch. 1 point will be awarded for every DXer you touch. 2 points if they're actually DXing, and 5 points if you receive an obscene gesture. Your score is on the honor system, but points will be doubled if you have photographs. Send your totals before February 1st to Radio Looking for a Peace International, the Tall Building, San Jose, Costa Rica. The highest point scorer this year will get an hour alone with Alice Brannigan or a trip to Winona, Minnesota if female. Second prize is a map showing where WEWN's main power switch is located. So come on, DXers, let's get in there and touch one another.
If you touch me, brother, I'll call my mother.
Here's another example of your tax dollars hard at work. The FCC has managed to ram through a new law making a de-expedition with more than 3 people an unlawful assembly. The OBXA immediately raised its DX camp fees to $300 Canadian per person in anticipation of a horde of DXers crossing the border. In more government news, the U.S. House Subcommittee on Convoluted Communications is wrestling with the tricky problem of how to deal with the intersection of cordless phone calls made in rooms with baby monitors. This controversy was sparked when several Long Island DXers recently sent reception reports to Senator Kennedy's office after hearing his conversation with Alice Brannigan. According to an unnamed source, the conversation apparently involved no national security breaches, but that somewhat bodily functions were discussed in some detail. Senator Kennedy was not available for comment. Well, perhaps you noticed that we went another whole segment this time without any actual DX tips. So, we'd like to see your tips. Rub them real hard and press them into some silly putty. Put it in the freezer for a day and then send it to us. Send all your hard tips to number 17 Masonic Lodge Street, Bannock, Montana. This is Radio Azteca, one of America's gross national products. It's time again for some more actual stuff. These are all items taken from various media or heard off the air. We are not making these up. USA Today is always a good source of bizarre stuff. For example, after a San Bernardino Beach, Florida judge ruled in a violation of the First Amendment, the city is junking a law that makes it illegal for politicians to lie. By golly, with judges like that, how can this country go wrong? It's that kind of wisdom that allows clumsy women to sue popular restaurant chains for thermal harassment. Speaking of popular restaurant chains, police in Stillwater, Oklahoma are looking for thieves who stole 2 Ronald McDonald statues from a McDonald's restaurant. One clown was found at a lake bound with rope, duct tape across his mouth, and a note saying that he had been treated well by his McNappers. Clever folk like that should be in pirate radio. The EPA has issued a boil water alert for 4 square blocks of the southwest Capitol Hill neighborhood in Washington, D.C. E. coli and coliform bacteria were found in the water. For those in the audience not quite up on their microbiology, E. coli and coliform comes from shit. And as we all know, there's plenty of that flowing in Washington.
There's somebody shit in your mouth.
Thank thanks to Ken Zicke for picking up this bit of perverted wisdom from the mouth of Dr. Gene Scott. Quote, you know what kind of men go to God? Little peanuts that only know how to cry good. I'm sure that means something profound, but beats the hell out of me what it is. Hey, folks, if you've got any items for actual stuff or any hot tips, we'd like to see them, especially if you usually have to sit to pee. Send us a picture of your tip to the Tips Institute, 300 Greasefire Road, Buckskin Joe, Colorado. Radio Azteca, another pothole in the highway of life. Sweaty palm from the home office in Williamson, Michigan, tonight's top 10 list. Tonight's list is the top 10 reasons not to let your daughter date a DXer. Here we go. Number 10, he knows too much about erections. Number 9, he likes to twiddle knobs. Number 8, he likes to go the distance, if you know what I mean. Number 7, he may ask her to verify reception. Number 6, he likes to look for action after dark. Number 5, he reveres Glenn Hauser. Number 4, he has all the latest digital hardware. Number 3, he knows how to use an oscillator. Number 2, he has a ferrite rod. And the number 1 reason not to let your daughter date a DXer, he never goes out without his coil.
Nobody gets Montezuma's revenge like Radio Azteca.
Another great moment in Aztec history. On July 73rd of 942 A.D., it was a Tuesday, Emiliano Chihuahua and a couple of his buddies, Montezuma and Vera Cruz, were idling away a hot summer day by poking the ground with sharp sticks. Amazingly, each impaled large stones with holes in them, which clung tenaciously to each stick. Startled at this coincidence, Emiliano, Monty, and Vera started hitting their sticks against the nearest object to remove the rock. Emiliano hit his against a hollow log. Monty struck his against a large rock, and Vera struck hers against the tailgate of a nearby pickup truck. All the villagers came running toward the rhythmic sounds and began dancing dirtily and pouring water on each other. This pulsating scene went on for several days and has been hailed as the invention of the tropical band. This is Radio Azteca, the leader of the tri-state area of Connecticut, Iowa, and Alabama. Azteca program is quite complete without a visit from Dr. Radio. Who answers all your questions about radio, DXing, and bodily functions. Our first question tonight comes in from young Vito Judas of Animas Forks, Colorado. Vito says you've offered many tips on how to hear exotic DX that's reported by all the famous DXers, but nothing seems to work for me. What should I do? Sounds to me like you're trying too hard, Vito. Here's what always works for me. I've generally found that after drinking 3 or 4 beers in one sitting, all sorts of great signals start popping in everywhere. Even your old stereo set and rabbit-ear TV will start picking up all those new Russian stations. One caution, though, if you're going to try for QSLs, don't try to write anything down, and practice hitting the buttons on your tape recorder. Write us again, Vito. Neil Wolfish of the Toronto Maple Leafs says, why do DXers fart so much? Neil, you've obviously been hanging out with the wrong crowd too much. One surefire way for you to change your impression of DXer emissions is to start hanging out with more female DXers.
The women cannot keep a secret, but they can hold the fart.
Neil also sent in a related question. What does it mean when the canary dies? Neil, it simply means that all those DXers you're hanging out with have consumed too much booze and hot beer. Move the canary outside next time, or better yet, light a candle and then move yourself outside. Yolanda Pettit of Mudsill, Colorado asks, when's the best time to hear the Seychelles? Yolanda, that's an easy one. The best time to hear the Seychelles is on a cruise in the Indian Ocean. This isn't fake Radio Azteca. This is the real Radio Azteca. Close program number 17. Here is today's reading from the Gospel according to the Church of the Female Horse. Praise Glen, from whom all DX flows. Praise Hertz, all receivers here below. Praise Ions above ye Radio Shack. Praise Icom, Drake, and the Holy Grove. Ahem. We're going to draw Radio Azteca program number 17 to a close now. If we've tickled your fancy and made it stand up, take a picture of it and send it to DVS Communications, Post Office Box 452, Wellsville, New York, 14895. We currently have 12 different cards, so you need not fear getting a repeat card unless you piss off the excruciatingly detailed report review committee. Those guys can be real stinkers sometimes. Until next time, this is your announcer, Bram Stoker from Radio Azteca. If everyone were home DXing more and kept their stick on the ice, it would be a much better world. Muchachos y amigos a Radio Azteca, programa número 18. Holy heterodyne, folks, this is your announcer, Bram Stoker. Hi, Bram! With Radio Azteca, program number 18. Today's program is brought to you by the good folks at the Louisiana Institute for Preserving Lever-Operated Code Keys, LipLock.
This is the most listened to radio talk show in America.
You're listening to Radio Azteca, your source for everything that's gross but tasteful.
Once again, you've encountered the airwaves' main source of information about obscure DX, bodily functions, and the untold story of old dead Mexican Indians. And yes, that was me at Dayton wearing the He-Man radio t-shirt again. If you'd like a keepsake of this semi-auspicious occasion, send us your excruciatingly detailed reception report, 3 mint stamps, 3 wise-ass comments we can use on the air, and a pint of your favorite lubricant to DVS Communications, Post Office Box 452, Wellsville, New York, 14895. We now have 14 different QSL cards available. It would also be nice if you demonstrated your support for the folks who take the chances to bring you this purposeless activity. Send along a little token of gratitude to the operator, or make a contribution to the Committee for the Retrieval of Confiscated Equipment, 400 OJ Drive, Shawnee, Missouri. Radio Azteca, the station that lifts and separates. I wonder why they do that. Due mainly to the fact I have been avoiding my pirately duties lately. The Radio Azteca mailbag is overflowing, and you all know what an ugly mess an overflowing bag can be. So here we go. Grandma Gigi Lytle of Lubbock, Texas, yee-haw, wrote again to Radio Azteca. Gigi apparently wandered off the West Texas prairie.
Oh, prairie shit.
And found herself in Culpsville. Gigi thanks us for the enlightenment we offered about Jesus H. Christ, whom, as you all know, is the popular founder of Long John Silver's Fish and Chips and Crucifix Boutiques. Craig Haskins of Hillsborough, Ontario, sent 4 reports and noted that he was impressed with our technical quality. This certainly proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that it does not take much to impress Canadian truck drivers. Truck drivers have a lot of time on their hands to contemplate deep things like...
How come cats sit on whatever we're reading?
Ray Bass of Chantilly, Virginia, writes again and says that he was able to pick up Radio Azteca on the radiator pipes in his Culpsville Holiday Inn room, which he says was only slightly lower quality than on his 2010. I generally recommend that you steer away from folks who listen to the pipes in their rooms, as that's a clear sign of a bad case of tubular hallucinations. Basil Shelley of Clyde, California, try it again. Basil says that with a name like Bram Stoker, it's got to be gross.
Oh, God, it's so gross.
Great promo there, Basil. With a name like Basil, it's got to be herb. John Mello of North Scituate, Rhode Island, also wrote again and says that we were good till his neighbor's thermostat came on. Tell you what to do, John. Record a couple of hours of Dr. Gene Scott. Wire your recorder into the neighbor's circuit so that it comes on whenever the furnace does. If that doesn't work, try a few minutes of Brother Stare.
Scared the shit out of me, you know.
Paul Dembski of South Portland, Maine, writes for the first time and says that the problem was local interference and not our ability to get out. Paul, getting out has been one of my major problems for quite a while now, but that's another story. Paul says that he's a QSL whore and wants to garner one of ours. Whatever happened to Garner Ted Armstrong? Larry Thompson of Des Moines, Iowa, sent about 17 different reports, some of them actually for Radio Azteca broadcasts. Larry noted that when he heard his name mentioned in an earlier program, that we got his fancy up. Larry, we have no desire whatsoever to see your fancy up or down, and we've referred your letter to the folks at Big Johnson Radio. Ronald Hunsucker of Wyomissing, Pennsylvania, noted our ad for the Psychic Friends Guide to World Band Radio. Ron says that he bought his in 1958, and it's still up to date. Ron asks if the number of programs we do is limited by the amount of material collected. Ron, it's been my experience that the kind of material heard here on Radio Azteca is just like wire coat hangers, paper clips, and rubber bands. Put them in a closet or a drawer for a few days, and you always come out with more than you started.
If left undisturbed, they multiply rapidly.
Didn't I say that? David Perrell of Virginia Beach, Virginia, says that he was glad we were on for so long. Thanks, David. That talent also comes in handy making porno movies. Old Bram can stay up longer than the head on a glass of 7-Up. Larry Goering of Hutchinson, Kansas, Brian McClure of Marion, Pennsylvania, Neil Wolfish of Toronto, Fred Danowski of Stratford, Connecticut, faithful listener Bud Stacy of the Japanese city of Satsuma, Alabama, and Alan Masiga of the Winona School, Minnesota School of Handwriting also wrote, but we temporarily ran out of gross but tasteful comments to make. This is Radio Azteca. We've upped our standards, so up yours. Several telltale signs about a person that tells everyone that they're a DXer. For example, if you keep a radio in the crapper, you might be a DXer. If you have shoeboxes full of tapes you haven't listened to in over 10 years, you might be a DXer. If you think that knob twisting has nothing to do with female anatomy, you just might be a DXer. If you haven't listened to a radio through its speaker in months, you might be a DXer. If you can always find your passport to World Band Radio but never your checkbook, you might be a DXer. If you can hum or whistle 10 or more interval signals, you might be a DXer. If your hit list does not have the names of any relatives on it, you might be a DXer. If you've ever written letters in languages you don't understand, you might be a DXer. And if you have a pet name for your headphones, you just might be a DXer.
This is Radio Azteca, one of America's growth national products.
I suppose it's just the Cuban wing of the Aztecs that always go, oh. now it's time again for another installment of the DX Merry-Go-Round Media Wave Signal Party Line program number 152,932. This is where Radio Azteca brings you all the hottest news and tips for the discriminating DXer.
Well, what do you mean the mood's not right? What do you mean? I'm in the mood. I'm ready. I'm hot. I'm ready to go. Come on, I'm all ready to go, Daddy. You kidding me?
He-Man Radio plans several programs featuring several famous female DX personalities. Our inside sources tell us that programs will feature Alice Brannigan in her days before Popcom, Barb Osterman in her days before Fred, Yolanda Lewis in her days before He-Man, and Kristen Kay, The Untold Story. We here at Radio Azteca think we know of a very large and mainly untapped new pirate radio audience. For those of you too cheap to shell out the cash and time required to get a hand ticket or even buy a CB radio. How about cordless phone and baby monitor pirates? Come on, folks, you know we're listening. Have more fun between calls to friends and listening to neighbors have sex. Sounds like more fun than falling naked into an aquarium full of kissing gouramis.
That is what fun human beings should be allowed to have.
Several programs ago, we pointed out several new TV programs of special interest to DXers. Here are a few more. Blue Ridge Summit 90210, The Fresh Prince of Wellsville, I Dream of Gene Scott, Married with Frequency, The Simplexes, Packet Fences, and Naswa of the Jungle. We also listed some DXer movies, and Hollywood has responded with several more for our entertainment. Grundig Old Men, Grumpier Old DXers, Wire of the World, A Fistful of Diodes, Sex and the Simpo Girl, Silence of the Hams, and The Clan of the Cave Bearcats. DXers are well known for using abbreviations, acronyms, and highly technical terms which can be very confusing for the beginning DXer. Radio Azteca is happy to shed some light on this area to make life just a bit easier. DX is simply an abbreviation for distance or distant radio stations. DXing is simply the act of listening to distant radio stations. If a signal is heard from a considerable distance, it is said to possess DXicity. A person who gets occasional cravings for DX is said to suffer from DXitis, and many of the sufferers are known as DXtroverts. Certain DXtroverts write down all the DX they hear and send it to every known publication. These people are known as DXhibitionists. The worst offenders who spend all of their waking hours at this are called DXaholics. These people often ignore their families and are guilty of DXtramarital affairs. After a few years of this addiction, they usually become DXhausted and usually require a frontal DXectomy and are forced to spend the rest of their lives in the rubber wallpaper wing of the home for old DXers. If you've got any hot DX tips or news, we'd like to know about it. Breeze up your tips and haul them over to Connie's Recycling and Hot Tip, 1010 Cumshot Road, Slidell, Mississippi. Remember, if your tips aren't hot enough, we'll jazz them up, but we'll still use your name. This is Radio Azteca, the station that sounds like elbow skin looks. Our thanks to Chuck Benke for the following masculine wisdom for women, probably filtered out of the dust of cyberspace. What's the difference between a man and a catfish? One is a bottom-feeding scumsucker. The other is a fish. What do you have? You have two balls in your hands. A man's undivided attention. How is a man like a snowstorm? Because you don't know when he's coming, how many inches you'll get, or how long it'll stay. How do some men define Roe versus Wade? Two different ways to cross a river. Why did God create man? Because vibrators can't mow the lawn. Why does a stupid man put ice in his condom? To keep the swelling down. Radio Azteca. We get pumped more times than the Winnipeg Jets. Wire-stained fingers tonight's top 10 list from the home office in Williamston, Michigan. Here are the top 10 things you can do to piss off a serious DXer. Here we go. Number 12. Hide his World Radio TV handbook and his passport. Number 11. Tell him that the 120-meter band is medium wave. Number 10. Tell him that QSLs don't prove anything. Number 9. Sit 2 feet from him and stare at him intensely. Number 8. Call Bhutan a pest. Number 7. Claim that you heard 732 countries and at QSL 479 of them. Number 6. Exclaim, "There's Christmas Island!" Oops, it just faded out. Number 5. Tell him that when conditions are good, a DX360 is just as good as an NRD 535. Number 4. Turn on your hairdryer at the top of the hour. Number 3. Point out that Hank Holbrook has more QSLs than he does. Number 2. Turn one of his knobs and then ask, "What does this do?" And the number 1 thing you can do to piss off a serious DXer, take notes feverishly, covering them with your hand, and say nothing. Radio Azteca, because Radio Cheese Whiz made no sense at all.
Yo a ti te comparo como una antena parabólica, como una antena parabólica. Se meten las señales por todos los canales, como una antena parabólica, bólica. A tu la película, la música por el centro, los culturales y la rumba.
What's the bag limit on macrofish? If nothing sticks to Teflon, how do they get it on all those pans? Is Ross Perot the older brother of Alfred E. Ehrman? What would happen if everyone in Northern Ireland moved to Bosnia? He will answer these questions, but Dr. Radio will answer all your tasteful questions about radio and bodily function. Our first question comes from little 6-year-old Fernandina Sue Belitho of Alligator Cliff, Vermont. Fernandina Sue asks, if cows laughed, would milk come out their noses? Great question, Fern. Dr. Radio took this opportunity to do a little field work. He went to a nearby dairy farm and showed several cows a series of old Green Acres reruns. The only thing that the cows expelled was from the end opposite their noses, and none of it looked the least bit like milk.
Holy what the hell is that shit?
That's exactly what it was. Another high cholesterol animal fat related food question comes from Gordon Hathaway of Manhattan. Gordon asks, if pig feed comes from pigs, chicken nuggets come from chicken, where the hell does bratwurst come from? Gordon, that's a silly-ass question, and we're not going to deal with it. Now, if you'd ask where spam comes from, that's different.
Anyway, I want to get off the subject because it is disgusting, and
Franz Bergman of Whitehall, Wisconsin asks, how can Jack Bargan and Charles Polk from WLIS read off interval signals possibly think that FWLs would be entertained by hearing Radio Ujulang International's 1982 interval signals when they can hear it themselves? Franz, you stumbled across a heretofore unrevealed conflict at WLIS headquarters. Unbeknownst to Jack, Charles slipped this signal into a program when he found out that it was 2 Komodo dragons humping on a pile of fruits. Program director Jack countered by using Radio Iraq signal, which has been found out to be Saddam blowing on a skin flute on a camel's hump. From Joe Bob of Joe Bob's Drive-In comes this question. What is the difference between Madonna and the Panama Canal? The Panama Canal is a busy ditch. If you have a question for Dr. Radio, put it on the internet at http://getreal.dxx.com. This is Radio Azteca, the only place where you'll hear bagel recipes using cracked cheese and toe jam. Radio Azteca is ever alert for those little bits of wisdom and real events that have so much impact on weaving our fabric of life. We have some items more of actual stuff for your enlightenment. All of the following are items heard off the air or taken from various media. We are not making these up. Much. Ever alert Ken Zicke sends us this quote from the silver-tongued mouth of Dr. Gene Scott. Quote, most preachers are so impoverished of brains and ability that they should never, ever make more than $12,000, unquote. Thanks to Ken for coming up with several quotes from Dr. Gene, the king of shortwave comedy.
Holy shit, that is funny.
The following was heard on 6955 kilohertz during one of the between program lulls. Quote, the ground is mounted horizontally, unquote. From USA Today come these socially revealing items. In Merrimack, New Hampshire, Massacola Middle School's policy forbidding students from touching in the hallways was instituted due to safety concerns, officials say. They deny some parents' claims that it arose out of the district's ban on anything encouraging homosexuality as a positive lifestyle. Trying to keep a bunch of middle school students from touching each other makes as much sense as telling the guys not to notice whenever the over-mature babes forget to wear bras. Fairmont, Minnesota jailer Dennis Spate, accused of implying to 2 inmates that he urinated in their milk, faces charges. He was suspended for 30 days after admitting to making the statements. He has not admitted to actually urinating in the prisoner's milk. Dennis, no doubt, has a lot of spare time on his hands, like the actors, and was influenced by the movie Hollywood Nights, where a group of hormonal teenagers bent on hijinks took a whiz in the prom punch. Quoting one of the drinkers, "It did give the punch a bit of a whang."
You know, there's something about the smell of hot urine.
Jesse Rose of Hampton, Virginia, sent this item. Early in the morning, a man described by the New York Daily News as a career criminal was apprehended in the middle of a burglary at an upscale Fire Island, New York home. Residents had arisen to check out noises in the house, but found no one. However, in the vicinity of a closet door, they heard flatulence and discovered Richard Magchong, 56, hiding in the closet. They held him till police arrived. I'll bet they subdued him with spray cans of air freshener. This just goes to show you that beans, beer, and burglary just don't mix.
Sir, I take the utmost exception to your farting before my wife.
Sorry, I didn't know what they said.
If you stumble across some weird actual stuff, pick it up, stuff it in a leak-proof bag, and send it to us at Weird Actual Stuff, Suite 16, Underage Building, Provo, Utah. This is Radio Azteca. Like John Bobbitt, we're not going to get caught short. Before we close tonight, we'd like to send birthday greetings to the Queen and hope she gets her children under control very soon, and offer tonight's inspirational message from the Gospel according to the Church of Send Money. Praise Glenn, from whom all DX flows. Praise Glenn for these tips we receive here below. We beseech thee, your humble listeners, reveal unto us exotic DX, harmonics, and vacation tips. You are the mightiest of all, O Glenn. Shower us with the deepness of your mighty voice. Lead us not into nibby-nibby. Deliver unto us sesquikilo QSL. Grant us these requests, O Glenn, and we shall adore thy ways till summer. Ahem. This is your announcer, Bram Stoker, bringing Radio Azteca program number 18 to a close. As always, if you'd like to expand your valuable QSL collection, send your excruciatingly detailed reception report, 3 mint stamps, and a list of your top 10 favorite body parts in order to DVS Communications, Post Office Box 452, Wellsville, New York, 14895.
And don't send a bogus reception report.
I can sniff a phony report a mile away.
As revealed to us by Timothy Leary, to prepare you for your upcoming cosmic journey, here are the secret words. Klaatu, Barada, Nikto.
You have been listening to the All Azteca Relay Service, Radio Azteca Marathon Program number 6, featuring Radio Azteca programs 16, 17, and 18. This is the AARS, the All Azteca Relay Service. with Radio Azteca Marathon number 6. If you would like a QSL verification, send your reports to All Azteca Relay Service at gmail.com. Your reception report should go to All Azteca Relay Service at gmail.com. This is the All Azteca Relay Service. Thank you for listening to our broadcast. 73 and good night.